John Oswald, sampling the MC5. Before that, Negative Land from their CD Free, and that was from John Oswald's Rubaiyat, the second Plunderphonics CD. Welcome to Soundscapes. Explorations in radio, sound, and music. The executive producer of Soundscapes is Andrew Phillips. My name is Peter Schmittig, and tonight I'm here with Copernicus, who's going to take it from here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Copernicus. We are doing here now the part 2 of our discussion concerning reality and should we care about reality. Tonight we are going to divide this program into 3 sections. Our first section is going to discuss the prevailing Western view of reality. What do people, how does the West see reality? The part 2, we're going to discuss Copernicus's, that's my thoughts on reality and how it differs from the prevailing Western view. And on the third section, we're going to ask and explore is our basic present religions adequate for taking humanity into the 20th century. The phones are open, and after we're going to start this program by playing a piece called Ra from my 4th album, No, and then we're going to get into it. We're expecting the public to participate. The phones will be open as soon as the music ends, and I'm here with Reverend Finley Schaef from the Park Slope Methodist Church, and also with Peter Schmittig, who is our resident engineer. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, Ra.
I'm not the resident engineer, I think you sound good.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm sorry. I'll correct that. 793-400. You do more than that, don't you?
Well, yeah, but that's okay. No, don't worry about it. I have no reason. I don't care.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Don't worry about it. Let me know whether you want to come in over this and allow.
No, I never like to do that.
You never like to sign. Okay.
Into the dream, building the ideas on the walls of Nevermore as the Nile crisscrosses into a stream. And the Diet Coke cracks into the songs of baptism, and original sin, and last judgment, and sin, and eternal life, and heaven, and hell, and virgin birth, one God, the Trinity, killing of Abel by Cain, the crucifix, immortality of the soul, all on the walls of ancient Egypt. All on the walls of ancient Egypt.
Let's get into this.
Word for that. Architecture word for that. Oh, man. Get over it.
Ancient pharaohs try to prove to their people that they were born a virgin. Isis is the mother, is the genital of a virgin. Osiris is the king of the underworld.
Dark as the Nile crosses through the Sahara. And the beat down dreams of all the kisses crisscross and die. And the screams of the night kisses the sounds. And when this walks into
good light. That's a symbol of good light.
Saqqara kisses all the turns of the night. And Ramses builds Abu Simbel. Abu Simbel doing all the kisses of the night. Streaming where the dreams can no longer see. Confronting your civilized kiss. All of the poems of the madness. All the dreams of the lovers. All the kisses.
Thomas Nevermore.
All the beats.
No, it's right here. Low inside here. That's the product when you talk about the cab.
Building and dreaming in Lower Egypt. Building and dreaming in Lower Egypt. And building and seeing and confronting truth. And having the power to express it in these fantastic pyramids. Get up songs into its own dream. Bash it all into its own life. Rocking down to the desert of truth. Into the cryptic sounds of life. Melt into the song. Crying the tears with around dream kisses. And the bed songs lie down deep slowly. Eating the fired kiss. Walking into the magic of the mind. Walking into the first songs of primitive laws. Lord, into the soul. They made us. We are them. They are them. We are them. We are them. Song into its dream. Beat. Tone into its own kiss. Get up. Song with a beat change. Tone. Song.
Yeah. You have that queued up, right?
I have Atomic Nevermore.
Marcy, Darcy, busy, Massa, take me now. Take me where I can see. Take me where the dreams kiss all my memories. Take me as I bow my head and look into their eyes and look into their souls and feel them walking. Cover me into luxury. Come now, son. Come, son, to me. I'll sit now. Come, Jesus. Come see now. Baptize me with the virgin birth of Nevermore. Sing me on to the old kiss where the beat songs wash. Take me down into the river and wash my soul into my blood. And let the kisses roll into the maddened kiss of no time. With a man's kiss, tired darkness. Don't let me cry now. Don't let me lose the soul of my ear. Don't let me forget all the kisses. Don't let me turn all the songs of all my years. I touch you. Touch you now in the beginning.
I'm not sure. I'll be. I get this as, I see this as a lot of discussion and part two. I may do that ahead of time and see how it goes. Okay, well, huh? Yeah, so it's this. It's just thinking when you have full.
Get the number out, what can we get back on here?
Huh?
Get the number out, what can we get back on here?
I love you so much, I can't tell you. Let me say, I did, I can't. What was up? I'm with you, and you live with me, and we are not here.
were never here. You were never there. You were never there. You were never here. So there is no
About 10 seconds.
We're back. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to give you our phone number here at WBAI, 212-279-3400. The phones are now open. I'd like to make a little correction here. Peter Schmidegg is not our resident engineer. He is the producer of Soundscapes.
Well, not quite. I help Andrew Phillips out on
He's
it.
the executive producer, but...
No. Andrew Phillips is the executive producer.
Okay.
I
I'm
help
sorry.
him out on it.
All right. Reverend Schaef is here, and Reverend Schaef, how are you tonight? I'm glad to see you here back again.
I'd like to say I'm glad to be here, but this agenda you have is quite awesome and unnerving. Let's get into it.
Okay, are you an ancient Egyptian? Do you
No,
consider yourself a
I've
descendant of an ancient
Of course
Egyptian?
not. My roots are in Europe.
Well,
And,
I mean,
I
Copernicus
was
just
born
finished
and
saying
raised
that
in
he
this
saw
culture.
all. You're a preacher, a Protestant Christian preacher, and Copernicus just saw everything that you stand for on the walls of ancient Egypt.
Well, I find your singing, if we could call it that, intriguing and exciting, and the music as well, and very challenging. There's something extraordinarily challenging about it. Makes you, it's unsettling.
But do you see the
but,
connections? Your connections to ancient Egypt. This is your mind formed. You didn't.
No, I don't see it at all.
Oh.
But I'm not an Egyptologist. You were there, I wasn't.
Yeah. Well, that's what
But,
happened.
this
That's
is
what
a
we
new
find in
idea
ancient
for me,
Egypt.
that it's all there in Egypt. All Christianity is there. This is new.
Baptism, original sin, last judgment, heaven, hell, immortality of the soul, virgin birth, one God, the Trinity. All of this is on the crucifix itself. Is you could still find on the walls of ancient Egypt. This is basic fact. It's unfortunate that in the 8th century Egypt became Muslim, and then so the Christians fighting with the Muslims forgot about where their true origins were.
Do you
But
remember what kind of a crucifix was down there?
It's the symbol of life.
A human being hanging on a cross, that kind of a
No,
thing?
no. It's the symbol of Egypt, the symbol of good life.
okay.
It's a round circle with the crucifix.
You see, the Christian crucifix is entirely different. It's a protest against injustice, the kind of injustices. that
Yes,
the
well, they take
Egyptian
symbols and they use
pharaohs
them for different
probably
things, but these
practiced
things
when
are
they built
definitely
them.
out there. I'd like to get on to one, since we're going to be using this word reality a lot, would you like to answer this question? What is reality?
Well, you have to start with
What is your definition of reality?
reality is not apparent. It's not something that you experience with your senses. It's not obvious. It's hidden. It's something you have to dig to get to. To ask 10 people that question, you'll get 10 different answers because it's something that you grope for. Jesus had a wonderful parable about a lady who dug in the ground and found some pearls of great value, and she went and sold everything she had to buy the land so she could have those pearls. Meaning, you have to dig into the earth to find reality. It's not on the surface. It's the surface. Our surface lives are ephemeral and transient.
But are you
reality is deep.
Would you say there is a difference between a reality and absolute reality?
Absolute reality is simply saying, well, when you go deeper and deeper, looking into reality, into the unconscious, into the cosmos, you find finally absolute reality, which is eternal.
Which does not change.
It's not in time or space.
Which does not
It's
change.
all time and all space.
But which does not change. In other words, the absolute reality is something which will never change, ever. Is that right?
I don't think that necessarily follows. I think absolute.
Well, what does the word absolute
Well,
mean? We
yeah,
have to
I
get our
know.
words straight here, because then nobody knows what we're talking about. I think there's a difference between reality and absolute reality. Reality
What's
means, let's
absolute
talk
to
about,
you?
Copernicus talks a lot about the reality of the senses. He's always talking about humanity defining reality with its senses. So I would say that is one reality, the reality that you perceive with your human senses, okay? Let's talk about another reality. If you had a microscope on your eyes and looked at my face right now, you would see all the bacteria crawling, all the animals crawling all over my all over my body. So you might say the microscopic world is another reality, something you cannot see with your human eyes. Wouldn't you call that like another reality? And then let's say about the atomic world. Now you couldn't see with your microscopic eyes. You couldn't see the atomic world. You'd have to put on electron microscope eyes, and then you'd see the atomic. Wouldn't you say that was another reality? And ad infinitum, you'd find there are many, perhaps millions of realities. Okay, there are different levels and different kinds of realities. The reality that we're concerned with in this program is the absolute reality. It's the principle that our scientists are searching for. One theory that explains everything, and that's what we're talking about: the absolute reality. Okay, so have we made a difference?
Is that the ground of all these levels of reality?
Well, the absolute reality
like
theoretically doesn't ever change
the base,
and explains everything.
The God, is that God, the absolute reality?
Well, you're bringing another word, and you start bringing these words, and you have to explain them.
Well,
What do you mean by God?
You're,
you used it. What is it?
well, God is the creator of all reality, these levels of reality.
Oh, God is the creator of all
yeah,
these
levels of
realities. Is he
realities
like a
that we've been
separate being
talking
up there?
It's the being which encompasses all existence. It's
But
not
is
separate.
this a
It's not
separate being? Is
no.
he separate?
No, it's the ground. Just like a million different flowers grow out of the earth. The earth is the ground of all of these flowers and the creator of all of these flowers. Which
Is this
away.
God a separate God that you're talking about? Is he up
No,
there in the heaven?
I just said the ground.
The ground is God. Everything is God that produces. So this is pantheism.
The ground
is what
of
you're talking
all
about.
being. Yes.
This is pantheism. Everything is God.
No, not everything
Certainly
is
not
God.
Christianity. But be careful now, because we have a pile of wood outside. We have a pile of wood outside for any
You
Christian
have a cross
heretic.
that you hang people on.
Our phone number is here as 212-279-3400. So
The absolute reality is that which brings into being all of these levels of reality that are our experience. It's the creator's good word for it.
Yeah, but can
I
you
like to
explain
say
this
ground.
creator? Because what we're doing basically now here is trying to define the Western world's definition of reality. We want to see what they, and you're sort of doing it. And you're talking, I want to know
the
who this
idea
God
of
is that you're talking about.
monotheism is that very definitely important part of Western civilization. It's shared by all the great religions.
And God, this God is a separate
the
being
one
up in
God
heaven, right?
who is eternal beyond time.
And he's in heaven, right?
No, not in heaven. Heaven
Where
is
is he?
not a place that you,
Where is she?
like, you know,
He or she? Where are they?
neither male nor female, but both if you insist on using those terms. Not aware in one place as opposed to other places. The ground of all being, everywhere.
Where is
All
this God?
places.
Where is it?
Nowhere. There is nowhere. This God is everywhere.
This is pantheism. This is not Christianity.
The
No,
Chris-
you have. This is not Christianity.
It's not the Christianity that you grew up when you were an altar boy in South Jamaica. No.
I told him the story of my life. Now he's telling my history. Go ahead.
No, it's not that Christianity. no.
What Christianity is this? Is this the new Christianity?
This
Are
is
we-
not Christianity. The
You may-
priest-
you may be
the
converting
priest
me here
taught you
tonight. Go ahead,
you
huh?
across the sacristy for.
But what? All right. Is this revolutionary Christianity you're saying? But what I'm just
No,
interested
that-
in
This is traditional theology.
Well, traditional
you're-
theology is
why is-
God is
why
in
are you having
heaven.
trouble with
The
this?
earth
This
is.
is
I'm
obvious.
having trouble with this because you're not telling me about the God
God-
that I was taught.
Look,
that there is a
God
God
is,
in heaven.
God is somewhere like God in heaven. Yeah, that's a story.
God is in heaven.
That helps you to
Excuse me. Does
understand.
God know the name of Reverend Finley Schaef? Does God know Reverend Finley Schaef?
Yes.
As an individual.
Of course.
Okay.
everything.
So this is now you're getting back in line. So God knows Reverend Finley Schaef.
Yeah,
Great. And can if Reverend Finley Schaef is bad, and when he dies, where does he go? Will he go to hell if he does enough bad things?
Yes. That's
He will
right.
go to hell.
Well, no. There's a heaven and there's a
There's a hell,
and there's an in between.
And there's a purgatory, and yes,
And
and
where
that's
you suffer in the redemptive way so that you become good.
okay. So we
And then when you become good, you go to heaven.
very good. So then we have basically defined, and this is the interpretation of reality. I mean, you have a
is the
smile on your face.
story.
Is this a story, or why are you smiling? This is
a
reality. This is
story that
absolute
helps
reality.
people to understand the meaning of life and the.
Well, is
the-
it a story or is it the
It's a
truth?
story.
It's a
All truth is
story.
story.
So do you have any truth?
Truth is story. How do you express truth? You can express it in like principles, rational ideas. But the word, one of the fallacies of Western civilization that ideas are what motivate people. I think you think that.
I think that.
You think that.
I very much disagree with
I
you
think
about trying to
ideas
find truth with
motivate
your heart.
people about 3 or 4%, and other things like lust for power.
You're unnerving me, Reverend Schaef.
Motivate people.
Uh,
Do you
be-
think that people, when they put those yellow ribbons around trees in the war against Iraq, do you think they did that because they sat around and had discussions about whether the war was right or wrong, and then they said, yeah, they agreed after much debate.
Did
that
you
it
ever
was
meet
right,
someone who believed in hell?
and they hung yellow ribbons around the trees?
Did you ever meet
People
someone who
think these
actually
things.
believed in hell?
Actually meet a live human being? I don't remember.
Well, I
But
was in
did.
Crete,
No, I
in
don't
Greece.
remember
All right,
what I
if
did.
you want to go ever see real paintings of hell, you go to the Museum of Athens, 5th century paintings, Greek paintings of hell. And you won't want to go there. Well, I was living in Crete, and I used to travel into the little town, and there I was like the star of this little town, this big guy in the little scooter, and the priest, the Greek priest would come out. I'd go to the taverna, play tavoli, and drink ouzo, and had a great time. And I communicated to the waitress that when I die, in Greek, that when I die, I was going to go to hell. And the whole place went silent.
Who said that?
I said it,
Oh.
but in a joking way. And they used to call me Yorgos, and she said, Yorgos, tu ini poli kalo, you're very good, you will not go to hell. They really believed in hell. Now, you're a very liberal person, and you're very out there, very far out. And you are not representative of the majority of people, I think, who believe that there is a God up there in heaven who knows your name. If you're bad, you're going to this horrible place called hell. If you're good, you're going to go up there with heaven. Listen, my priest, my Catholic priest that watch this story, he came to my house one time, and when I was a little kid, I rose up with him and everything else. And I got into this deep conversation with him, and he believed in heaven.
that he had sacrificed, this Catholic priest, he had sacrificed his entire life. All of the he had no sex. He worked hard. He gave himself to the community. And he had sacrificed all of this, and he was guaranteed to go to heaven. And he believed that. So whether you believe, I'm wondering what you are. Now, you're a pantheist. So I'm here basically trying to establish the Western world's vision of reality. And would you say that your thoughts are a little farther to the left of general thinking?
General who?
General thinking, from Massachusetts.
To the left. Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I'm like most other people nowadays trying to rethink our religion and make it more helpful as we move into the future, because the old traditional religions have brought us to a bad place.
Well, this is. Would you say that there is would you say that Christianity, Judaism, and Mohammedanism were very similar?
Similar?
Yeah.
They're very similar in one respect.
I'd like to say one respect they're all similar, that they have ancient Egypt as their mother. But go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know about that. You know. Well, they all. The main focus of the Western religions is on relations between people, the outer life, so to speak. The other. What is our responsibility towards the other persons in our community, the other Jews in Israel, or the other persons outside of our community, the other non-Christians, the non-Muslims. And that's the basic orientation of all three. They're all monotheistic, and they all focus on social relations. The Eastern religions focus more on the inward.
Yeah, right. But
path,
the Western world,
going
basically, they all have the
inside.
same formula. God is in heaven.
Yeah, they're
There's
very
the
close.
earth. God knows your name. You go to your bad, you go to hell. If you're good, you go to heaven.
Some change
and
of
there's some cultural
characters,
changes. That's
some
all. But it's
change of
basically,
characters.
I call it the basic religion's the same religion of the entire Western world. And this is the.
But not
one
the
thing you
whole
see, but
world.
one thing I disagree here with you. I mean, you're calling these visions of reality or stories, and
Stories,
these are not
myths,
stories.
myths,
No,
stories.
I don't think that the
Well, what are
average Christian
Well,
preacher.
what are they?
The average Christian preacher is
Theories?
not talking about these are teachings of the church, of the Christian
I
church in the
know,
Western
they're
world.
Stories.
Oh no.
I mean,
well,
what's-
to you maybe, but I don't think
Well,
that you.
Well, what do you say it is?
I'm
What-
saying that they
I have a
teach that God
religion.
is in heaven and God knows your name.
And if that's not a story, what is it?
They're teaching this as
That's
truth.
not a myth. What is it?
It's a truth.
Oh,
It's a
truth
teaching.
is different.
It's not a myth. A myth can be a story, an allegory, a
I'm not
symbolic
saying
thing.
different things. I'm just saying that truths express themselves in the form of stories for human beings. That's the way people express them. Always. Only the philosophers, the degenerate philosophers, reduce everything to truths, eternal truths, and the theologians. But Christianity, I mean, the Bible is a storybook. It's not a book of principles, right? I think you're a rationalist.
I am. We have a caller here.
Well,
Yes, sir.
Hello. I wanted to raise a point, if I could.
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to see what he thought about this, about Jesus Christ.
Who's he?
Your guest?
Reverend Schaef or Copernicus?
Oh, well, actually both, because actually I did raise this to Copernicus last time he was on also. Okay.
What did I think of Jesus Christ?
No. I wanna raise a point about him. Okay. Now I think that Jesus Christ was a hypocrite because he said that you should not cast pearls before swine, and yet what he did was actually to cast pearls before swine, because he expressed all his truths to all these people, and they really didn't know what to make of it, and they really couldn't value it. And that really is the essence of casting pearls before swine, wasting valuable information that's valuable to you on people that can't value it.
I don't agree with that at all.
Well,
Are
I
you
think,
saying that you're not supposed to try to raise people or show people the way? I mean, that's madness what you're saying. Go ahead.
the pearl that he threw was himself before the Roman authorities and the ruling class.
Well, I consider what he did
Of
committing
Israel.
suicide, but
But that's it. He committed suicide, but he threw himself on behalf of the people that he loved before the ruling class of the Romans and the Jewish people.
Well, he was also trying to fulfill a few prophecies that said that that all this had to happen so that he was the Messiah. Maybe he was really trying to be the Messiah. But in respect to this caller, I try to do what you're just saying to people all the time, right? And we should each do it to each other. If I think that I have something that you don't know, and I see that I could show this to you, and hopefully you can benefit from that. Are you saying that I'm a hypocrite for doing a thing like that? That's not right. Jesus said a lot of good things, and he tried to raise the consciousness of people. So I would not agree with that.
Yeah, but don't you see that in his by saying it to these people, no matter what he did, they just didn't get it, and they just could not grasp what he was saying. So really,
well, they wrote it down, they remembered it, they didn't forget it. We're repeating it all 2,000 years later.
Yes,
I don't know.
yeah, he also said an impossible thing. You know, he said, like, love thy neighbor as thyself. That's the frustration of Christianity.
So love your enemies too.
And love your enemies. That's the frustration of Christianity.
an impossibility.
Yes, I don't even think it's good thinking. It's not good thinking, and that's the frustration of, and in that frustration we see the seeds of why Christian countries are the most violent countries on the face of the earth. You would think that the Prince of Peace would have nurtured peace-loving nations, and on the contrary, the Christian countries are the most violent in this time anyway. Basically, to sum up, thank you, caller.
Okay, I just say one more thing about it.
Yes, quickly.
Okay. I feel that the only people that could really value what he was saying were the apostles. That would have been an example of him not wasting his truth. But he wasted it on the rest of the people because they couldn't grasp what he was saying.
Well, who was he going to talk to? He didn't have a radio. He didn't have TV. He didn't have jets to go over to New York or to Peking or wherever he could find someone else to speak to. He was speaking to his immediate people. Now, he did the best he could in that relationship.
Also, he addressed that problem that you raised, the caller raises, with his story about throwing the seed on the different kinds of ground, and some of it came up, some of it was choked by weeds,
right.
Some of it just never sprouted, and so forth. So the teachings fall on all different kinds of ears.
From this thing, he's certainly not a hypocrite. Thank you, caller.
Thank you, caller.
Okay.
Basically, so we're summing up. We have a schedule here. I'm going to try to keep to it. Basically, what we've tried to do in this first half hour, which is everything is going to be sort of superficial in a certain way, but is to define reality as reality is, and to show the difference between reality and absolute reality, and to sort of position what people in the Western world define as reality today, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, or Mohammedanism. Basically, the Western world, the average Western world preacher will see God in a heaven. We are on earth, and God knows your name, and if you're bad, you go to hell, and if you're good, you go to heaven, and if you're mediocre, you go to purgatory. All right, okay, fellas, we're in a second section here, and we're going to now change this to the discussion of Copernicus, moi. We're going to discuss some of my ideas. I am a philosopher, and we're going to contrast those ideas with this prevalent view of Western reality. I expect you people to call in. We're going to play 3 pieces back to back. Nothing from the first piece is going to be called Atomic Nevermore from the first album Nothing Exists, which is basically a discussion, an explanation of what Copernicus thinks. The second piece will be Inside Here from the album Null, which is another piece getting into the atom, and the third is A Break from the Senses, which is from the album No Borderline. After that, we will discuss Copernicus's ideas. Again, the phone number here is 212-279-3400, and ladies and gentlemen, Atomic Nevermore.
I think of the moment when humanity will realize that what its senses perceive is not real. that truth lies in the atomic and subatomic world. And that living in illusion is an error and the cause of all human suffering. I think that humanity can be freed of all illusion and can attain the heaven that is spontaneous life. I think human world. Come into atomic nevermore. No past. No future. No present. Into the eternal atomic unknown. No time for the illusion of identity. Impossible to see or touch. Moment in the fiery sea of atomic activity. Free! Free! Freedom! Human rule! Disappeared in spontaneous atomic laughter! Into the warm atomic nevermore, where we lose our will. Non-existent, loose and smiling and free. Come! Inside here with the proton, electron, neutron, and quarks. Trillion-year-old travelers, survivors of the initial explosion, hurling through space. Impersonal nonsense. Fulfillers of the law. Protons, neutrinos, atoms, molecules, cells, life, death, beginning and end, in the no beginning and no end. X-rays, gamma, alpha, beta rays, antimatter, vacuums, silence, silence in the squeal of eons that pour with its subatomic symphony in the immortal grip of superlaw
and resting the mind in its spatial cushion. Only the mind can make the clues the human eyes see. And only the mind can free the mind of the human lies of death, life, and identity.
And nothing to do but lie naked on the earth and feel the wind. And the mind loosens its grip on the center of your being.
And you feel the atomic meltdown of your body into the earth, into the earth. Millions of atoms dropping off, and your entire body turns into a cloud of atoms, light, alive with fury, floating in with the action in a world that is never to be left, formless, intimate with truth, feeling basic and nearer to truth.
Break from the center. Oh.
Okay, so bear in mind we're about 25 minutes long. We played a lot more music this week than last week.
To break away from the senses is the first step to knowing what is real. To realize the eyes cannot see the subatomic world. The eyes cannot hear its symphony. The fingers cannot feel the subatomic touch.
When I go to the Netflix and do a board along, will that be like, you guys just talk for like 10, 15 minutes and then go to that, right? Okay, cool.
Stay forever inside.
So the next thing you want me to play, just to verify, there was no.
Senses are worthless distractors. Tools that have taken us this far, but now must be discarded. We once discarded our tails, like the butterfly's cocoon, so that we may fly in the wheel, be in the wheel, resting on the gatherings and never board every moment. When life and death are just an ignorant society. Our seven flows over the protons and ignites the electrons to make more hydrogen.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Our phone number here is 212-279-3400. Reverend Schaef, last week you said something which surprised me very much, and in fact today you repeated it again. You said, last week you said Christianity was not able to take humanity into, prepared to take humanity into the 21st century. And then today you repeated it and said that the major religions were not capable of taking humanity into the 21st century. I'd like to ask you this question. You've had some discussion about Copernicus' thoughts, and we're going to be discussing Copernicus' thoughts this half hour. So from what you understand about Copernicus, do you think Copernicus' thoughts can take people into the 21st century?
No, I don't think the thoughts are going to take anybody anywhere. But, you know, you're not a rationalist. Rationalists can't sing like that. You're an enigma, basically.
Is that a race?
A race of giants, or what? But I like this idea of the reality being in the subatomic world. Where did you come up with that? Because You see, the thing that modern science has misled us into thinking that from the very beginning, the world was material and not spiritual. And
When you start using words, you have to be careful now. What is the difference between material and spiritual? You're going to start using these words. You have to-
matter and spirit.
What is the difference? You have to, if you're going to use that. What is the difference between material and spiritual?
Matter is measurable and experienced by the senses. The spirit is not experienced by the senses. It is like an energy and a force.
Well, is it material energy?
No, not material.
What is it?
I don't know what it is.
Come on now. If you're going to
spirit.
use words, you have to know what they
But
mean.
from the beginning, the world was both matter, both physical and psychic. Both.
Is light
not all.
spiritual? Light
So
physical?
in the subatomic world, I'm just trying to elaborate what your verses say, your lyrics.
Go ahead.
The spirit is present even there, maybe even more. All of spiritual and physical reality is potentially present in the subatomic world. It's kind of, I like this. I like your thinking there. But your thinking is not going to carry us into the 20th century.
You may be my first convert. Let me see here. Phone numbers here are 212-279-3400. Basically, I saw that, and I came to these ideas from a more practical point of view. I say that to be here, you have to not be able to change. First of all, I went down to the building blocks of matter. All matter, including my blood, bones, hair, the air I breathe, are made up of atoms. Atoms, and atoms are made up of smaller particles. So I went to the atoms, but the atoms are moving around and they're interchanging one with another. So a human body, for example, never is the same. It can't change because it's never really the same. So there's a constant chaos going on. So to say that I am here is insanity, because there is really no I. To be an I, there can be anything changing. And from there, this is where I started building my ideas. The molecular changes prevent anyone or anything from remaining the same from one moment to the next. Now, if you do not remain the same from one moment to the next, that means literally that you were never born. That means that you are not here. And it also means that you cannot die. That all of these concepts of birth, life, death, these are concepts that are invented by people who were defining reality with their human senses. Okay, remember we talked about reality and the human senses? They were living in that reality of the human senses, and so they see the little baby come out, and they say with their eyes, and they say, oh, that is birth. And then they see the baby growing larger, and he's here. So, oh, he's here. That's life. And then they see the baby die, and that baby is dead. Okay? But if you see this all of this from the atomic point of view, there is no birth, no life, or death. If you're sitting next to me, if you actually looked at me with atomic microscope eyes, you wouldn't see me. If you were able to see me atomically, the billions of atoms between us would be there. The billions of atoms making up my body would be there, moving around. I wouldn't have a figure. I wouldn't even be here, okay? And then, this is just the atomic level. Now imagine you going even smaller. The atom is made up of electrons, protons, neutrons. The protons and neutrons are made up of smaller particles, quarks. I mean, now the atom itself, which evolved at one time, that itself evolved. That evolved. So the atom itself is made up of smaller particles, and I don't know if there is, and we still don't know, if there is a smaller atomic particle that never changes. Now this would be interesting if we could really know that. That's where I would see
absolute reality.
That would be absolute reality.
Absolute.
That's my absolute. Okay.
Well, could we look at it this way? Like think of the Earth as an organism that shoots out flowers and trees and people and animals. We're all expressions of this underlying organism.
Yeah, but you're insisting on well, no, because you're insisting on living in the world of the human senses. Why are you insisting on that? Why are you cheating yourself at the billions of realities that are out there? Why are you insisting on just living by what your human senses perceive? That should be, you could live there if you want.
but you should be able to jump around and go into many, many, many different kinds of realities. And not to deify, to say that this world of human senses is the only reality. You should, and that is the reality. Then, when you start calling this world of the human senses the reality, then now you're a dangerous person. Because now you don't recognize the macrocosm, the microcosm, okay? You don't recognize anything else.
Are your ideas going to make the world a better place?
Oh, yeah.
Is it going to be like less human beings and, you know, keep the birth rate down so that the animals have a chance? And are people going to be just, and power structures are going to be decentralized so that nobody can kill anybody else and send people to war and stuff like that? Is it going to, those ideas going to bring us into a nicer place to live?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, because once you have the macrocosm and the microcosm in your consciousness, once you live with the universe, once you live with the smaller world, in the world of the atom, and they're there, you now see yourself as a part of everything, you see, okay? And it also makes you less violent.
You're on to something.
It makes you less violent. We have a caller. I'd like to speak to this caller, please. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I was just calling in. I had heard the first portion of your program, and I guess I just wanted to set something a little bit straight, because I know there's so much bad theology out there. A couple things that was said, like about the mistake of the faith, Christian faith, that, you know, to love your neighbor as yourself, it sort of puts you in a bind because you can't fulfill it and so forth. I think that just is really showing the realism of the Christian faith, because in effect, you know, you're being told to be perfect. God is perfect. The point is that the point of the whole Christian message is that a person can't do it on his own. It's so realistic, it's so down to earth, that you're supposed to be able to see yourself for who you are, and that is someone who can't be perfect. So the idea of a personal quote-unquote savior is not a hollow phrase.
I never heard that before.
What's that?
I was raised a Christian. I was never told that you are not ever able to love your neighbor as yourself. I was told that I had to be a great Christian. I had to love my neighbor as myself. And I just don't agree with that idea. And I was never taught what you said. Do you agree with what he said?
I do that, but see, the basic Christian, classic Christian orthodoxy or whatever.
Reverend Schaef is here. Did you ever hear that before? He said it was impossible. He said that Christianity,
impossible to love.
Yeah, to love your neighbor as yourself.
No, perfect. I'm not saying that a person can't, from time to time, fulfill certain acts that are, and I think, you know, people do good act of whatever mercy.
You mean nobody can be perfect?
See, all I'm saying is that you fall in, as the scriptures say, you fall in one part of the law, you fall in all of it. One little slip, and you're 100% guilty. So all I'm saying is, I think you're realistic to know that one bad thought, one bad action, one bad this is all it takes, and that's the realism of the Christian faith. So the fact of being a great Christian, or being, like when you said about you do good, you go to heaven, you do poorly, you go to hell, you're mediocre, you go in purgatory. That's so far from what the scriptures and what Christ even taught that it's barely worth discussion. I mean, the point is, you can never do good enough to get to heaven. Everyone can do bad enough to not get to heaven, but no one can do good enough to get to heaven. That's the whole point of Christ.
You know, this is what I'm finding is that when you a little child or you're growing up and they're teaching you about Christianity, they tell you these things are all truths, and then I find out that every person who calls himself a Christian has goes into his own little interpretation of what Christianity is. Christianity believes there is a God in heaven. If you're bad, you go to hell. God knows your name. I mean, this is the Christian vision of reality. And it's not a story. It's not what you want to make it. This is what they say, okay? And this is what they teach. If you turn on every program on television, any Christian preacher will tell you that.
Not any Christian. See, all I can say is, you know, let the scriptures speak, because Christ claimed to be the author of the scriptures, in effect. I mean, if representatively...
Christ condemned the Pharisees to hell, you know.
What's that?
Christ sent the Pharisees to hell. He condemned them when they were. He was there. This is when they were attacking him.
Well, the whole point of the Christian faith is, first, it's covenantal. It's all representative. In Adam, all fell. That's a presupposition of the Christian faith. The humanist might say in Christ you can de-evolve with Christ. You can be restored, the Christian would say, in the same way that Adam represented man in the fall. Christ represents man in being able to become back or become what God intended.
So then,
All Christ's righteousness. I'm not saying it has nothing to do with man, because at the same time the scriptures say, make your calling and election sure. Do the good things, but never lean on them as the entrance fee to get to heaven. It's like if I'm walking across Park Avenue and someone pushes me out of the way, and I go visit that and that person gets hit by a car. I go visit that person in the hospital. The motive is because the guy saved my life. I love him. If I have a rich uncle, who I despise, and I go visit him in the hospital, he's about to die or something, why am I doing it? Because I want the inheritance. It's a question of motive that you do the good things. And granted, I could never reach in my pocket and say, here, Jesus, here's all the good works I could ever do. Now let me in. See, that's the realism of the Christian faith. You say, he's God. He claimed to be God. He couldn't just be a good teacher, because no good teacher would say, give up your life for me if you lose your life for me.
are you a Christian?
Am I a Christian?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Do you believe that there is a God?
Yes.
Is this God in heaven?
Yes.
Does this God know your name?
Of course, yes. He knows every hair on your head. He knows every hair on every
Is
person's
heaven a
head.
place?
I now if you're bad, are you going to go to hell?
If I'm bad,
Well, if you go out and kill somebody right now, will you go to hell?
see, you're talking in a hypothetical situation.
No, I'm asking you, are you part of what the Christianity, Judaism, and Mohammedanism teaches to its people?
I would say I have a classic, scriptural classic Christianity.
Do you believe in hell?
Oh yes, of course. Christ talked about hell more than anyone
That's
else.
what I said. Yeah.
I mean, and that's just it. Granted, it's not. I didn't come up with this. It's Christ's teachings, and that is one of the things that happens when you come to the faith. You have to, you're no longer trying to make it yourself. You're no longer trying to be the cook.
Well, this is where I totally reject all of this. Okay, first of all, I believe that you don't exist. I believe that you're not here, and so you can't die. Okay, and all right.
Well, I mean, if you see reality in that way, I wouldn't be surprised for you to say that. It's like I said before. There's covenantal. It's all covenantal in the fallen Adam. It's covenantal in the restoration in Christ.
Covenantal. What does that mean?
So that means a contract between us and God. You have an agreement.
It was made.
Let's strike a deal.
In my opinion, there is no us.
It
Okay.
just struck me. You're saying that we don't exist. It's like carrying individualism the next step further.
Say we don't exist.
Right.
That's what he said. Well,
I mean, could you?
in other words, our culture has atomized us to the point where every person is on his or her own, each against the other. It's individualism.
Radical.
This is not individualism.
Logic.
But you're carrying it another step further. Not only are we not individuals, we don't even exist. So it's like anti-communal, your philosophy. Whereas we live in community, we're born into community.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I have a piece of no border. I say just be alone
You say
with the
we don't
universe.
even exist.
Just be alone with the... Well,
Right?
That's right. Well,
You're carrying individualism
well, listen,
to its
I'm
extreme.
trying to explain that all these atoms are changing. Well, I mean, every time I get in these conversations, people still drag me back, kicking and screaming, to the world of the human senses. That is that one reality. Why can't we go into the world of the atoms and stay down there for a while? Why do you? I always, no matter if I have an interview, if I have a conversation, I'm constantly being dragged back. I've established beforehand that I've rejected this world of the human sense, but I have to keep being dragged back. Keep dragging back. We've all been drummed down. We've been drummed in our heads from day one that we exist, that we have identity, that we are born, that we live, that we die, and it's a scientific fallacy.
How about this way of saying it? That we are lived. The world, Earth, the world lives us. We're not individual beings, but the world throws up something that has a name, Copernicus, for a couple seconds, and then it goes back and it's into
It's not even a couple
oblivion
seconds.
again.
It's not even a couple seconds. There is
60, 70 years compared to 15 billion years. It's like an instant. It's an instant.
But that
But
instant
for
is
an
not even
instance,
there.
there's
But excuse me, that
Copernicus.
instant is not even there.
All right.
Well,
Thank
then
you,
you're saying
caller. Our
time.
phone number is 212-279-3400. We have another caller. Hello.
Hi, you were talking about all this worlds of atoms. Don't you think there's enough problems in our world right here?
Oh my God. I mean, this is this is exactly what I'm rejecting. That you are considering the world of illusion as real, and you should not consider the world of illusion as real because it's an illusion. You're living in the world that only your human senses can perceive. That's only one reality in a trillion of realities. You are cheating yourself out of the trillions of other realities by deifying the only one little tiny reality that your senses can perceive.
No, you can't focus on millions of realities. You have to find one. You have to... How can you be at peace with yourself when you can't find one reality, one thing to be true to yourself?
Well, you can do that, but don't. But have it in perspective. That's not the only reality. There's a billion other realities out there, and hopefully you have hope inside yourself that you may someday, through searching, encounter the absolute reality that explains everything. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
I can smell the wood burning.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Next. Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi. I was just calling because, first of all, I noticed that you said that in Judaism there's a concept of heaven and hell, and I don't think that's really true. I think that there was a dualism that was introduced into Christianity that kind of filtered in from the Persian concept of there being a force of good and a force of evil. I think that idea of heaven and hell is unique to the Christian faith. But as to your idea about us not existing and us not being here and rejecting the world of the human senses, well, it may be true that we can transcend our senses, but those are the tools that we have to work with. I mean, we've got our sight, our sound, our hearing, everything that we experience. When I hear you on the radio, when I talk to you on the phone, all I can do is use those senses. I mean, it's good to talk about the subatomic world, but we can't even conceive of it. I mean...
What do you mean you can't conceive of it?
I mean, for example,
Of course you can conceive of it. We can photograph it.
Yeah, but an electron is neither...
No, an atom.
Even smaller than an atom. An electron is neither matter nor energy. You can't even conceive of it because it's not there. It's there, but it's not there, you know? And we ourselves are like... It's like saying that a house doesn't exist because it's built of bricks. I mean, we are created by these atoms, these electrons. They're what make us who we are. We function in this world of the senses because that's all we have to exist with.
Yeah, but it's my point is that these atoms are moving around so fast that there is no one point where they stop and say, here you are. You are never there.
Yeah, that may be true, but the point is that they
if it's true, then you should accept it and start thinking about it and applying it to your head, huh?
No, because they combine to form your brain. You have memories.
Yeah, but that brain is in constant change.
That's true, but everything is in constant change.
That's right. That's true. Now we're starting to agree.
I know. I'm saying I agree with you that everything is in constant flux, but the point is that in their flux and in their change, they form patterns, and that out of those patterns...
No, they don't form anything. They're a chaos. They never form anything. That's the problem, or that's the beauty.
But what about the matter that you exist in?
There is no matter. Everything is in change.
But
it's forever change, huh?
No, because when you touch something, when you hear something, it's there.
You can never touch anything because you're not here and there is nothing there to touch.
Yeah, it's very well to deconstruct all of existence, but the fact remains that we're here and we can feel and hear and see and talk and communicate.
No, you're not here, sir. You're not here.
But I can hear you, right?
No, you cannot hear me because you're not there and I'm not here.
Yeah, but you're just rejecting your own existence.
I can't reject anything.
So then why...
I'm not here.
So if you're not here, then how are your ideas valid if you don't even exist to back them
I
up?
don't. What is going on here is the spontaneous expression of all of these atoms that are somehow coming together and producing all of this.
Exactly.
All of this,
and my
whatever.
spontaneous expressions of atoms are saying basically that you can't defend your ideas because you don't even exist.
That's right.
So how can you even go on saying that you have these ideas and how we can experience the world of the senses? If I had eyes that could see atoms, if I had fingers that could touch these multitudes of atoms,
right.
If I could fly around and experience millions of realities, I would love to do so, but I'm grounded in this reality.
No, you have a mind. You can do it with your mind.
But how can you do that? Is there a method?
With your mind.
You imagine it.
Your mind is your tool.
That's right, but your mind doesn't exist according to you because your mind is just atoms.
Yeah, but if the spontaneous being of your mind calls for you to do that, it can be done.
Yeah,
but if
I
it's
mean,
not there, you can't force it.
But how do you know that everything is spontaneous? How do you know things don't move in patterns? How do you know there's not some plan, some orchestration?
From?
I don't know, from anything. I'm not saying that there's any creator.
Well, we're delving and searching for that orchestration and saying that we are actually searching for this thing called absolute reality. But in the meantime, we cannot be deifying the world that our senses bring to us and say that this is the only reality when there are billions of realities out there.
I'm all in favor of experiencing a multitude of realities, but I think that we as humans live a life that's linear in that I know you reject
You might live a life that's linear. I don't live a life that's
linear. Well, I know you
linear.
reject the concept of birth and death and
That's
life
right.
and whatever, but I assume you eat in the morning and you have natural functions that you go through, and you may not deny your existence, but you still have to do them in order to if you stopped eating, those atoms that maintain you you wouldn't be able to talk to me. You wouldn't be able to communicate with me. If you cut out your tongue, you would lose that aspect of your senses. And your senses are the only way you can, even if there are billions of other realities out there certainly is the world of the senses because we're using it right now as we speak. And you have to admit that world does exist.
Well, we did say that that is one particular reality, right? But don't say that it exists. Because it doesn't, in the absolute terms, it doesn't exist because it's in constant flux. But in the world of illusion, you might say, in the world of illusion it exists because, well, you can't really see the real thing. And so we all make this compromise and say, seeing is believing. I touch you, therefore you are here. I think, therefore I am. All these jerky little elementary expressions. But in reality, the reality of the situation is the atomic flux does not permit it to exist.
Well, I mean,
what I hear Copernicus saying,
Reverend Schaef.
what I hear Copernicus saying, besides the fact that we are not connected, nothing is connected, we're not in communion or community. I lost my thought, but that's the first thing that you're saying. You're radically disavowing connection.
No, I'm not. I let everything be what it is. I'm not disavowing
the second thing is you're radically disavowing any sense of freedom. We are...
On the contrary, this frees you from all of the junk that society
the
produces.
universe
because if you're not anything, you have no freedom at all.
No, you are free at to be
if you're
every
just swirling particles and atoms and electrons and neutrons, then you don't even exist. You don't have any freedom. You're just spontaneous. You're spontaneous pattern.
That's the beauty of life. The spontaneity of life. To be what you are at every moment. That's the ultimate freedom.
Yeah, but you're not who you are at any minute because
you
are...
I'm not what I am at every moment? Of course I am.
Even as we speak, are you experiencing all these other realities? And how do you experience them? And can you even relate
all of the other realities? No, what I'm concerned with is actually what I call being. Being the free expression of what I am at every moment. That is what will make life wonderful, exciting. It's people who have all of these exterior forces on them, outside of them, controlling them, and not letting their true power come and be expressed.
Well, Copernicus, when the police bang on your door and walk in your room and haul you off because you said something they don't like, you're losing your spontaneity. You're living in a world which does not allow you to be spontaneous, right?
No, you're wrong.
You saying,
there is a short story about the
police
prisoner
are
of
leading you
Chillon.
away, you can still be spontaneous. Is that what you're saying?
There was a story of the prisoner of Chillon. He was a political prisoner in a French jail for 30 years. And at the end, the king died, and somebody else came over, and they came to his prison, and they opened up the thing. Okay, you're free now. And he looked at them, and he laughed at them. He wasn't free. He didn't need to walk out of a prison to be free.
I can see that too.
Yeah. No, but I mean, basically, what it all goes down to is that even though you reject this world of the senses in favor of the brilliant world of particles and atoms and whatever, the fact remains is that you are still influenced by that world of the senses.
No, I didn't. Excuse me, you're misinterpreting what a lot of people do. I did not reject the world of the senses. I'm saying, for the purposes of understanding what is real, you must put the world of the senses in its proper place. Recognize that. See, humanity has lived from day one saying that what their senses perceive is real, and that is the only reality. But you can use your senses, but you must recognize that there are many, many other realities, and just keep things in perspective. So I don't reject them. I reject them for the purpose of saying that this is the absolute reality and there is nothing else. Just be conscious of that. There are many other realities.
Well, how do you propose that we get? I mean, for me, for example, I've
Yes?
never considered I mean, I've thought of other planes of existence, other methods of, the subatomic world and all that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But how would I go about basically encountering acquiring that sort of knowledge, basically?
Well, I mean, we have our scientists discovering incredible things, and you should just keep up with their discoveries. You see, our scientists are great discoveries of things, but they're very poor communicators. That's why guys like me are around. I'm a communicator. I'm not a discoverer of great scientific facts. I take these facts and I put them together, and I try to communicate what vision I have as a result of what these scientists find. And you do the same, but you have to think for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's more important. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Your mind is great.
Does Copernicus think that existence is meaningful and it makes sense, or is that a category?
There is no such thing as existence.
Well,
you're dragging me back.
Yeah, but don't you, in the world of the senses,
do you think that
say you can have something such as existence?
As long as you recognize that it's an illusion.
Well, but still,
No, but
I
let's
mean,
not
I'm not
get,
saying
unless you want to deify that, unless you consciously want to deify the world of illusion, say I don't care about anything else, and this is what I want, and I want to live there, and that's your spontaneous choice. Go for it. I feel sorry for you, but go for it. You're just cheating yourself.
I just mean is that I think that you said that you should accept the world of the senses. That, I mean, even though you should accept it, but know that there's other things out there.
Right.
But you have to realize that in the world of the senses, there is such a thing as existence because you sense it. You see. Like right now, I can sense your existence, and I know that only exists in the world of the senses. But you just said that's a valid world, so you do exist. You may not exist in all those in the subatomic world, but in the world of the senses, you exist because I can hear you, talk to you.
Well, you really can't hear me because you're not there and I'm not here.
Oh, sure. On other levels, I'm not there at all. I'm swirling atoms and electrons. But in the world of the senses, I can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
That world that you admitted it existed.
that's an easy way to win an argument?
Well, no, I mean, the world of the senses may not be the most important world. It may be the least important world, but you've admitted its existence, and I can sense you. So in the world of the senses, you do exist.
I don't think this conversation is going to lead us into the 21st century.
Well, I think everyone has to find their own way.
I mean, but this is where it ends up a lot.
I mean, everyone has to find their own way. I mean, you can't deconstruct. I mean, you can deconstruct yourself into nothing, and that's fine. And if that's your choice, that's good. But I mean, I think that in a way, it's sort of copping out from dealing with all the other people around us. I mean, if you make yourself nothing, then you don't have to worry about the guy on the street or whatever. In this world of the senses that most of us live in, that most of us interact in every day, we see what's happening. We feel what's happening.
Do you
We
think
can't
that
always
I worry
be in
about the guy on the street?
and so.
Do you think that I worry about the guy on the street?
Well, I mean, of course
No, do
not,
you?
because there's all that other stuff out there. But nevertheless,
No, but you think
I
that
value the world of the senses.
you
I
think
find
that I
it's been an
personally worry
enriching
about the-
experience for me.
Do you think
I
that
don't want it taken away from me by being shot in the head.
Do you think that I personally worry about the guy on the street?
Oh, I'm sure. I don't know if you personally are about the guy
What do
on
you
the
think?
street.
So what do you think from what little that you've heard?
Well, what I think is that you feel that you've experienced this much greater reality, a reality of what makes us up, that we're just swirling atoms, and this is much more powerful than this sort of puny existence that we lead of seeing and feeling and hearing and quantifying and qualifying and deifying. But my point is that you may grasp this and other people may grasp this, but not everyone does. And you're even forced to communicate this message through the world of the senses over the radio. So what I'm trying to say is that all these people are out there living in this world of the senses. So don't you have to recognize that as a viable thing, something you have to interact within? It would be great if we could all move on to this higher plane of existence. But the world of the senses is around us. It's what we're communicating in right now. You have to recognize that you exist within that world of the senses.
Well, I don't have to do that.
You
and
don't
I
have to, but I mean,
and I don't, and I feel sorry for
consistent
people.
with your argument.
I feel sorry for people who do, and I'm trying to free them of it. There's nothing wrong in eating breakfast in the morning, or there's nothing wrong, but as long as you recognize that there is this atomic change going on. Thank you.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to play another piece right now called There Was No. This was a piece recorded in BMG Studios with a band called Bix. It's all spontaneous stuff, and it talks about a world when there were no atoms.
There was once a time when there were no atoms.
So we think that will make it red. 1833? Yes. All right, so 1830 is finished. I really want to say red, no waterline. 1830, that's 20. What's that now? 20, 50, okay? Says that I have 5 minutes to talk. So at 1830, that's right, 123, 30. We want to play no water. Okay? So when this finishes, we have 5 minutes. 5 minutes, right? Yeah. My very fast. I'm sorry, last night, you're doing very good. Yeah, you're very good.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We have a very short time left in this program. Again, our phone number here is 212-279-3400. And I'd like to just make a couple announcements here. If anyone would like to write to Copernicus, write to Nevermore Inc., Box 170150, Brooklyn, New York, 11217.
Repeat that.
Repeat it. Nevermore Inc., Box 170150, Brooklyn, New York, 11217. I'd like to just mention some of the musicians that have played on this album here. Pierce Turner, who's a musical father here, played keyboards. Larry Kerwin from Black 47, who plays guitar, keyboards, and vocals. He's the known mother of Copernicus. Tom Hamlin drums, Jeffrey Richards on flute, Chris Catras guitar, Steve Menashe marimba and percussion, Fred Parcells a trombone, Roseanne Horn vocals, Jimmy Zhivago guitar and piano, Fanula vocals, Andy Leahy vocals, Fred Shalimar bass, Patty Higgins Baudron floor toms, Matty Fallu saxophone, Marvin Wright guitar, piano, J.C. Rose vocals, Jim O'Leary vocals, and Andy Himmons bass. Well, we tried to do something that should take 20 hours and tried to do it in an hour and a half. We basically attempted to paint the world that paint the vision of reality that the Western world is thinking, and compare it to what someone else, myself, has my own vision. I don't think I properly did what I wanted to do tonight. And the piece that we're going to play after this in a couple of minutes, called No Borderline, it will help me to paint the vision that I see. Do you have anything else to add to this, Reverend Schaef?
No, this is good. I think the key thing is your poetry and your music. And that's where you're communicating, and I think you're onto something important. I would express it differently.
Poetry has a power that prose and conversations don't have. And
see, you seem to be denying human freedom, and in a way, it's true that
denying human freedom.
Well, I have this. My vision is that we are lived, like we are like a flower is thrown up by the earth. And it's an expression of the earth, and that's the way we are too. There's an absolute reality that's living us, throwing us up.
But why
for
are
a
you
little while?
But why do you insist on looking at reality with the human senses? Why don't you think it's just logical to go back to the building blocks of what you are,
there's
which
the
are the
absolute
atoms,
reality
and see things from there?
That's throwing up all of this world of the senses. The absolute reality is there. It brings it all into being, and it's as you say, always changing, always.
So why stay in the world? Don't you see that the human senses are inadequate?
Yes, I do. So why?
I say throw them away. I think they're almost they're worthless. They're worthless.
Well, that's not.
If you, they're worthless. You know, I do a piece on stage called "We Threw Away Our Tails." Remember the time when we had a tail? Oh, you don't remember that time? Do you believe that your ancestors had a tail at one time?
Oh yeah, sure, fins, everything.
Your ancestors?
Sure.
Did your ancestors have a tail at one time?
You mean like a tiger was my ancestor?
No, like a monkey or a tiger or anything.
Yeah, right.
Do you have a tail now?
No.
Okay, so you don't have a tail. You threw it away because you don't need it.
Right.
We don't need our human senses anyway.
You want to throw the senses away like we threw a tail away?
But throw them away intellectually. Okay, I'll put them in their place. Okay.
That's different.
Well, that's what I'm talking about all night. I didn't
put them in their place.
That's what I'm talking about all night, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you all. We're ending our program right now, and we're moving on. We're going to play this last piece from the last album called No Borderline. And the piece is called No Borderline. I want to thank you, Reverend Schaef, for these two programs that I did with you. I never thought that I would have such a great rapport with a Christian preacher, and you are really open-minded, and you've transcended so many things that I thought were limiting in Christianity. I never thought that I could find a person in Christianity who was so deep and as far-reaching and as open-minded as you are. I really thank you.
Well, thank
You've
you,
been an
and I'm
experience for me.
very grateful to have this exciting time together with somebody who doesn't exist.
And thank you, Peter Schmidek, for producing this program and allowing us to use these two programs to give us an opportunity to discuss these subjects.
It was my pleasure to have you on, Copernicus.
Okay, and now we're playing No Borderline. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night. Good.
The angel is in you, like the carriage crosses that hang alone in the sea's desert. Pebbles, dreaming pebbles sweating in the sun. Spirits eating through the lava, waiting for the sand to whiten the kiss. Truth, spirit force, turned into the dry wood. Just be alone with the universe. The angel is in you. The angel is in you. The angel is in you. Just be alone with the universe. Be your own vision, your own angel. The angel is in you. The power of ancient ritual. It weaves the tapestry of non-existence, of the dream within a dream, of the time and space that never was, and yet always will be. Lead me to the higher reality.
Lead me to the higher reality. Ghosts of energy, invisible vibration, you are the undercurrent. That is me.
Matt, Guy will take you down the elevator.
My cells intersect the outcropping of energy and matter which is constantly streaming, and I am a quantum level, vibrating where the universe is living, breathing, thinking, caught in the web, a victim of nevermore's spidery jaws. The venom of shattered reality ionically bonds non-existence's cosmic law. Oh, frail humanity, all your sacrificial offerings, your pagan rites, your science, magic, and ritual only feed the monstrous spider of nevermore. And as its fiery venom digests your molecule to protein, protein to atom, atom to energy, energy to non-existence, you will learn that you were never here. Yet, you were always here, revolving in a space and time that is reserved for residents of nevermore.
The angel is in you! The angel is in you!
I just want to get this on to the end, the whole thing.
The angel is in you!
Oh, the power of ancient ritual. It weaves the tapestry of non-existence, of the dream within the dream, of the time and space that never was, and yet always will be deserved.
The angel is in you! The
Lead me to the higher reality. Ghosts of energy, invisible vibration, you are the undercurrent. That is me.
This was made in Canada?
Just be alone with the universe. As I enter the wave, I am aware there is no line. Just be alone with the universe. Amoebas, stars, dinosaurs, galaxies are all connected and unbounded by space or time. Protons and neutrons from 5 billion years ago fall cosmically, and for a brief instant, they are part of me in a unified field of energy and light.
Lead me to the higher reality.
Lead me to the higher reality. Ghosts of energy, invisible vibration, you are the undercurrent. That is me. I flow on the river of energy, aware that I do not exist in this reality. Lost in the unified field, the quantum level, far beyond the molecule of the atom. Energy and matter are interchangeable in a molecule.
Oh, you have
Every minute is apocalypse, and every minute is genesis. There is no boundary between us and the rest of the universe. Lead me to the higher reality. Ghosts of energy, invisible vibration. You are the undercurrent that is me. I am the quantum level. The angel is in you. I am the quantum level.
The angel is in you! The quantum level! Vibrating where the universe is living! Breathing!
alone with the universe.
The angel is in you.
Be your own vision.
Angel is in
Your own angel. Be alone.
The angel is in you.
Be your own. Be your own.
Angel is in you.
There you have it. No Borderline from Copernicus's CD of the same title, No Borderline. And you've been listening to Soundscapes, Explorations in Radio, Sound, and Music. The executive producer of Soundscapes is Andrew Phillips. My name is Peter Schmittig. I guess I'm sort of the associate producer of Soundscapes. I help Andrew out on that show, and I'll be with you for the next 2 hours on Oblique Strategies. And what's Andrew going to be up to this Wednesday? Well, this is what Andrew is going